Welcome to another podcast from lifeupfront.com. Today we have the CEO of Vuuch, Chris Williams, on the line to talk about what I've just stumbled across as a pretty interesting tool. For me, I have to say anything PDM or PLM related sends chills up my spine. It's not something I'm normally interested in. But what I am interested in, a couple of things. Anything cloud-based, which I think Chris might set me straight that he's not technically a cloud-based product, and anything that really helps engineering teams do their job faster in a practical way. I think Vuuch has something really cool on both fronts. Chris, welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Nice to be here.
Well, good. Could you just quickly give us a look at your past resume? You've been involved with several startups. You've been a real engineer. You've managed real engineers. Could you tell us a little bit about what happened before Vuuch?
Yeah, so I've been in the product development market my entire career, either working at a customer site, selling technology to customers, or working as a consultant, working with customers around kind of process and how to develop products quicker. Just prior to Vuuch, I had sold a company to Dassault Systems, a company called Squeamish, is now a product in the Dassault price book called 3D Via Composer, available in all their channels. And, if you go back in my resume, I've worked for a number of the CAD companies, so PTC, I've worked in the distribution channels, and as I said, worked at a customer site, U.S. Surgical, where I ran research and development.
And how many people were under you there?
In the engineering team at U.S. Surgical, there was 250 engineers split across 4 project teams, or 4. We call them pods, and within a pod there was multiple projects going on. Typically, 2 to 4, actual teams inside each of those pods. So it was a pretty sizable team. As well, we had an advanced research group that was separate and doing, really kind of forward-looking research.
Well, so, that's always a healthy thing, I think. The people creating the software to help you with engineering have actually been in the engineering trenches, so kudos. So let's talk about Vuuch. First of all, am I pronouncing the name correctly? I think that's one question a lot of people have.
Yeah, no, Vuuch is right. You got it good.
Okay. So what is it exactly, in a quick nutshell, and then we'll dig a little deeper into it.
So, our objective is to, move a tool into the design environment. And Vuuch actually is a generic solution, but we're focusing now on design. But move people away from this structured approach, which is provided through PLM, and move upstream, or bring a tool into the environment that's upstream and highly unstructured, which is really kind of the nature of Vuuch. The other thing that we wanted to do through Vuuch is apply the social media approaches, or a social approach in the tool. So, that's part of the design, is we take a very social or networking-based approach versus a workflow or highly structured data model approach. And the whole focus of the tool is to help people connect better, manage their work better, and stay aware of the impacts of what's going on relative to them and other people in the team.
Okay, so that was heavily laden with marketing speech, and there's probably going to be some of my readers that don't get what you just said. Could you give us maybe a real down and dirty example of this thing in the wild that would also sort of talk to what it is?
Yeah, sure. So, what we do is actually quite simple from a user's perspective. If let's say there's a group of people working on a design, and let's say it's a space claim model that many people are kind of contributing to, whether they're a project manager, design engineer, an engineer, or a manufacturing person, procurement person. So there's typically multiple inputs going into the design, and maybe one person modeling that file. What we do, if you Vuuch the file, a web page is created, and you can think of that web page as the parts Facebook page. And we treat it very much like a Facebook page. The page can have friends, and then from a working perspective, you can place discussions on that page. You can track issues and tasks that people need to do, a status for the part, a description for the part, where you might be actually sharing the file, how people can get access to it. And what's cool about that page is, of course, you could actually go to it and see what's going on. But the page is also broadcast back into the CAD system through the file. So if I open file, let's say A, I'll see the activities and status for that file right there in my CAD system or PowerPoint or Word. Or if I open file B, I'll see now the new activities for B. And if I'm a project manager, maybe I don't work in the CAD system or PowerPoint, we provide the same functionality right through Outlook.
So this is all about project management when there's a lot of different people that are impacting the development.
Yeah, I actually don't like to think of it as management. I like to think of it as project execution because we're really focused on executing, not planning. So we don't deal with Gantt charts and PERT charts. We like to take the approach that's common in the environment today where users track a list of things that need to happen, and they typically track that in Excel today, and they typically prioritize that list by parts, so you could look down the Excel file, part 1, part 2, part 3, and see, these are the things I got to get done, these are the tasks, these are the problems that have to be resolved for us to actually release the part.
Okay, so that right there, I think, is the crux of what I found interesting about this. It's a pretty practical tool. I think most of my customers out there that deal in team development are used to getting this project Excel spreadsheet that somebody created with a list of items and tasks and to-dos and completion dates. And that thing just gets emailed around willy-nilly to everyone. You're never quite sure if you have the latest copy of it. And that is how a lot of products are developed today at this stage, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, and not only does it get mailed around, and now everybody has a copy, but the poor guy who actually has to summarize it on a daily or weekly basis, and go fetch from everybody, what did you do? Did you deliver this? At US Surgical, we call this thing the red, yellow, green report, and it's how every project manager on our teams managed projects. And from what I find out in the market, it's the standard way, across many, many customers, no matter the size. And not only product development in, kind of our world of discrete products, it's true in software. It's even true when people are putting together PowerPoint presentations. Actually, we have one customer that only uses Vuuch to build sales presentations. And even in that case, they've got, before Vuuch, they had a list of, these are all the things we got to get approved. These are the slides that have to be reviewed. This is the stuff we got to get done before we can release this deliverable.
All right, so there's two things I really liked about the product. One, it's practical, and that might seem at odds with a couple of the other things that people think of when they first hear of Vuuch.
Yep.
There's two items that come up. Cloud-based. There's a lot of controversy, particularly in the CAD world these days, about that. People fear it. People are thinking that Vuuch is cloud-based. Maybe it is, maybe it kind of isn't. I'll have you address that. And then also social. A lot of engineers just cringe when they hear social anything, particularly online. So the thing that I found refreshing when I saw the demonstration of this last week was, yeah, it's social, but it's not goofy social like you might think of in terms of Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, so from a social perspective, we're trying to take ideas from the social space and adapt them into our product. I think one thing that we've done very, very different than 99% of the people out there, in most solutions that are targeting the enterprise and are supposedly social, you actually follow people, which makes literally no sense at work. It makes perfect sense, to follow your friends or the people who share hobbies to a specific hobby site. But at work, that doesn't make any sense. You and I, for instance, we've got, one thing, this podcast that kind of connects us. So if I follow you, I'm just going to get a whole lot of noise that, maybe is interesting, maybe not, but I'll stop listening. So what we do is we actually allow you to follow the work, the deliverables, the things you actually care about, and then get to people kind of through the deliverable. So it's very, very different approach, and the deliverables you're following is completely dynamic based on whether you own a task on them or whether you actually want to be a friend to that deliverable. So it's not. I think it's a lot less goofy than a lot of the other approaches that are in the market, and we find that it actually spreads quite well because of this inside of an environment. So once we get one user, very quickly it's 2, 3, 5, 7. And what's really cool is the project managers love the stuff.
So how about this this whole cloud controversy? Where do you fit in there? I mean, you are somewhat in the cloud, right?
Yeah, so we're not a cloud app because we're not built in a manner to today, anyways. Take advantage of cloud-based services like Amazon, where from a cloud perspective the resources are fully dynamic. We're a more traditional SaaS-based solution. The servers are ours. I could actually show the server to a customer where that's pretty difficult to do in a cloud-based solution. I think the whole idea of SaaS and cloud, I think a lot of people fear it just out of the unknown. The funny thing is a lot of people actually already use it, whether they're doing online banking or even Gmail for that matter is, for all intents and purposes, a SaaS or cloud-based solution. I think it's a little bit of a fear of unknown. But one of the things that people seem to feel very comfortable about with Vuuch is the fact, and relative to the cloud, because a lot of the cloud concern is where did my file go, right? I don't want my file out there, on a server somewhere on the internet. Well, with Vuuch, we don't actually touch the file. We do not care. We do not take a position on how you should manage your file. So we don't move the file to the cloud. We don't touch the cloud. We don't change. I'm sorry. We don't touch the file. We don't even change how you have to manage the file. So if you manage them on your desktop and that works for you, keep doing it. If you manage them in a PDM system or some document management system, keep doing it. Doesn't have any positive or negative effect on your use of Vuuch. And that seems to be something that people really get excited about, because with PDM or PLM, the first thing they do is try to change where you're going to keep your files.
Yeah, that was my biggest misconception coming into this, is I thought, wow, they're going to ask people to take their databases and host them online somewhere and totally change the way they do business. As you described it to me, there were a couple of advantages with Vuuch that are just make it so easy to implement. You don't have to change whatever management system you have for data. You can drop it onto any system, whether it's cloud-based or not, even down the road.
Yep.
And you don't have any say over the security, which is one of the big concerns that a lot of people have in terms of data out there. Whatever security system that you have for your parts and assemblies today, Vuuch sits right on top of that, really doesn't interact with that part of it at all.
Yeah, exactly. So this is one of the ideas of where we're somewhat social. So you go to a Facebook page for this flange part that you and I are working on. So you go to the Vuuch page for that part. You'll see a profile tab. Just like you might see a profile tab for somebody's Facebook page. And on that tab, let's say you and I decide to share this file. And we decide, okay, we're going to share it using a technology like Dropbox, or because we're in the same enterprise, we share it using some shared disk space. So you and I can get there because we have the passwords to get to that location, and all the security around the file is managed by whatever tool has been relegated to manage the file. Vuuch is just telling people where it is. So let's say we actually invite a vendor to work on this page with us through some activities. The vendor might be able to see where the file is, but they can't get there because they don't have the access rights to that file, or they can't even get inside of our firewall, for instance, if we're sharing the file on a shared file system. So we've kind of separated the metadata and work that goes around kind of driving a deliverable to completion from the file management, from the file management actually, and that's very different, right? So PDM, PLM, they are pushing those two together. They're explicitly connected inside those tools.
All right, so Vuuch, which by the way, a couple of things I love about the name. One, it's memorable. Two, you can use it as a noun or a verb, or I suppose maybe some sort of adjective.
Sure.
um, but Vuuch is something that you can drop into your workflow today. It doesn't require a process change. It immediately replaces a pretty painful process that everybody's already using, which is sending this Excel spreadsheet around to the team ad nauseum. I go to your website, I don't see a buy button.
Why? You got some money you want to spend?
let's say I'm a potential customer who just got excited from listening to this podcast. Is it for sale yet? Where are you at in the stage of getting this out as a live product?
Yeah, so from the beginning, we made a decision that we were going to be completely public with what we were doing. So we've gone through 4 major releases, all of which have been available as a beta. We're in our last release, which is now about 2 months old. It is of a quality of most products on the market. We could put it up for sale today. We've decided to continue the beta program, and the reason being is we're getting great customer feedback. So everything that we're doing release to release is driven by customers. So what we're trying to do is get people to use it through the beta, not kind of engage them in a purchasing cycle, use it through the beta again to kind of drive the product, so that when we have a commercial release 1, it's a very, very functional and usable product across a number of different use cases and size of customers. That said, we are thinking about kind of that next evolution. One of the things that we're looking at doing, again, rather than just placing the product up for sale, is creating what we're calling a BOCA, a Board of Customer Advisory Council, as the next step, which would be a paid set of engagements. And the idea there is kind of refine the process around customer requirements and build an advisory board through a set of partners. So really the goal is not for us to go out and acquire these customers directly, but to work with some partners to go out and get some of these advisory customers. So we don't have all the details today, but that's kind of the thinking that we have, is that's probably the next best step rather than placing the product up for sale. Because a number of things that we're working on, we want some real solid feedback on. So today, you Vuuch a file, you end up with a Vuuch page that represents that file. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be releasing not only some new add-ins for things like Inventor, which we actually just put the alpha up today. So you can try Vuuch inside of Inventor today. But we're also working on the notion of parts, product structures, or bill of materials, and products. So rather than today, you start when you actually have CAD files. In future releases of Vuuch, you're going to start before you have CAD files. You're going to create a product page. You're going to create a bill of material. You're going to create part pages, which ultimately start to connect themselves to files. And we're hoping through the BOCA program and the beta accounts we have today to drive an even improved definition into the next releases of the product. So if anyone out there in your audience was interested in the BOCA, contact us at vuuch.com.
Yeah, that's pretty intriguing. When do you think you will be at a stage where this product is out there, on the market as a finished product?
The release we have today, not for all of the add-ins, but the release we have today for Microsoft and SolidWorks, AutoCAD, Inventor, it's a commercially viable product today. If we wanted to put a price tag on it today, we could. I think that by the end of the year, we certainly will have a for-sale product rather than just a beta.
Okay, so if someone's interested in the BOCA program, they just would contact you, as you say, through the website, and go over the tools that all the suite of tools that it currently works with, because it's not just CAD, but maybe list out the CAD tools you currently integrate with, as well as Office type tools.
Yeah, so today we support Pro Engineer, SolidWorks, AutoCAD, Inventor. In the future, we have a partner that's going to build a Revit add-in. Then, of course, we support the Microsoft suite, so Outlook, Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. It's a great tool in PowerPoint, actually. And then we support PDF, although we've not released it, and we support even web pages. So you can create a web page about a web page. So maybe you're doing competitive intelligence, or you're marking up your web page for changes that need to be made. And those two things we haven't actually yet released, but we will shortly here. And in the future, we look to create a Vuuch capability for things like Salesforce and SAP and Oracle. So you can imagine you're in Oracle, you release a purchase order, and you Vuuch it. Now you have a web page that kind of can track all the issues with that purchase order and all the tasks that people need to do to get that purchase order to whatever the objective is. Or in that case, Vuuch in the Salesforce case, Vuuch an account, or Vuuch an opportunity, or back in the ERP case, Vuuch a customer service complaint. And you want to manage kind of a group of people to go resolve that complaint.
Well, Chris, I appreciate you spending the time with us today. I can't believe I'm actually excited about something in this realm. But it is a neat tool. I think it's very practical. It helps you get the job done fast. I encourage my listeners to check it out. And the website again?
Vuuch.com.
How do you spell that?
VUUCH.com.
That's right. There's 2 U's in there.
That's right.
Well, hey, thanks again, Chris. I appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. So this has been another podcast from lifeupfront.com. You can always visit us for tips and tricks and process flow and all the best practices for CAE and product development at lifeupfront.com. And I encourage you to check out Vuuch at www.vuuch.com.